So draw cross the legs, and then draw the heels towards your body, flex the feet, and rest the shins into the arches. So you're making a nice, stable foundation. And then pull the flesh away from the sitting bones. And sit up tall, lift the rib cage up away from the pelvis. Relax the shoulders away from the ears, and have the palms facing down. And then reach the back of the crown of the head up towards the sky and close your eyes. Take a couple cleansing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Just letting go of anything that's been on your mind. Anything that's any tension. And you don't have to bring those things to your mind. Like, oh, what's bringing me tension? Let me let that go. Just have the intention that you're letting it go. And then start to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. And notice how you're breathing. Notice if you're breathing deep or shallow, fast or slow, smooth or choppy. There's no right or wrong. You're not having judgment about it. You're just noticing. And start to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose again, but try to bring that breath more so into the belly. Like you're not actually going to breathe into the belly, but as you inhale, let the belly expand. Just bringing some energy, some prana into that area. And as you exhale, draw the navel towards the spine. As you inhale, expand the belly like you're filling up a balloon. Exhale, navel towards the spine. Do a few more rounds here. Letting your face relax, your forehead, your eyebrows, your cheeks, your jaw. Today, let's focus in our practice on grounding, on connecting to the earth. Whenever we do this, it can really help to release anxiety and overwhelm, stress. Just being in the present moment. A good way to be in the present moment is to focus on the breath. Let's come up with an affirmation. On your inhale, and you can think, I am. On your exhale, grounded. And if there's another word that resonates with you more, like stable or calm, centered, then use that word instead. Just take a moment to pick what word that you'll use today. And then on your inhale, I am. And on your exhale, your affirmation word. And keep going like that for a few more rounds. And breathing now not only into the belly, but as you inhale, expand the belly, low ribs, and then all the way up. all the way up towards the collarbones and upper back. And as you exhale, exhale upper back, low ribs, belly. Continue with your affirmation as you do this. And then circle your hands together in front of your heart into prayer, and let's set that intention and that affirmation. Give it a little bit more power. With one Om, take a deep breath in. And then slowly lower your head and bring your hands down to your knees. Just let your head hang here. Keep the rest of the back straight. And slowly let your head roll to the right. Draw your left shoulder down. And then bring your head forward and to the other side. Draw the other shoulder down. And again, forward and to the first side. And forward into the second side. Bring your head back down to center. Let it hang. Take another breath. And blink your eyes open. And slowly lift your head and make your way onto your hands and knees. You can move your props off to the side. On the hands and knees, extend your right foot back, have your toes on the ground, and just push into the hands and push your heel down and back, stretching the back of the leg. And switch. And come back to the hands and knees, and bring your knees as wide as your mat and bring your big toes together to touch. So it's kind of making a little triangle. And then start to bring your hips back towards your heels. It's okay if you don't sit all the way onto the heels. Bring your elbows down and then bring your pointer fingers to touch and your thumbs to touch. So you're making a little triangle. Elbows out to the sides. This helps to relax the shoulders. Bring the forehead down to the mat. If the forehead doesn't touch, you can always stack your fists and place your forehead onto the top fist. Wherever you are, just soften and relax here. And think about bringing the breath into the back body. So as you inhale, really expand the back. As you exhale, soften down towards the mat a little bit more. Come back to your affirmation. And just feel yourself connecting to the energy of the earth, that grounding, stabilizing, centering energy, that strong foundation. And drawing upon that energy in your practice today so you can start to embody it on your mat. And slowly make your way back up to your hands and knees. Bring your knees back to center. Curl the toes under. Now root the knuckles down and point the pointer fingers straight forward. Walk your knees back a couple inches. Now on your inhale, start to lift the knees and the hips up. On your exhale, push into the knuckles, sending the hips up and back. Let your head hang. So here in downward facing dog, roll the shoulders away from each other. Good. And then squeeze them into the joints. Good. Sending the hips up and back. Good. Now as you roll those shoulders away from each other, roll the forearms in at the same time. Good. And start to walk the dog here, bending and straightening the alternate legs. Draw your low ribs in a little bit. You get a little bendy in your back. And come back down to the hands and knees. Have your wrists under the shoulders and your knees under the hips. Uncurl the toes. As you inhale, start to look out in front of you a little bit. Draw your chest forward, shoulders back. Exhale, round the back, navel to spine. Good. Inhale, look out, tip your pelvis forward. Exhale, tip your pelvis back, tucking your tailbone. Good. Do a few more rounds, work with your breath, spread the fingers apart as far as you can comfortably. Heidi, walk your knees back like an inch or two. Yeah, that's more. Yeah, that's good. Good, one more full round. Good, and then come back to neutral. Now what I want you to do is stand tall on the knees and bring your arms up overhead. Okay, so I was telling you to wrap your shoulders in your down dog. So what I mean is roll the shoulders away from each other to get, the hands will then face each other. Okay, but I'm not moving my hands. My hands will stay straight as though I've got like a cast on. Now do the opposite. This is what a lot of people do in down dog, okay? That's what we don't want to do. Now roll the shoulders away from each other. Notice how that feels a lot different here. You should be able to relax here. Okay, so try it again here. And then here. So whenever you're looking at people's down dogs and there's not a lot of space in between their arms and their ears, this is what's happening. So roll away. Okay, now you'll keep that action in the upper, like here, but then from the elbows in, that's where you roll in. So from the elbows up, you roll out. From the elbows down, you roll in, okay? So let's try that. Come back to your hands and knees. Walk your knees back a couple inches, curl the toes under. Push into your knuckles. On your inhale, lift up. And on your exhale, push into the knuckles, send the hips up and back. Now roll the shoulders away from each other. Find a lot of space. Mandy, that looks much better. Find a lot of space in between your ears and your shoulders, and then roll the forearms in. Heidi, try not to turn, you don't need to turn your hands out so much. Have your pointer fingers pointing straight forward, good. And walk your feet back about 2 inches. Good. Is your mat slippery? Okay. Good. So now what I'm looking at it as, I want to see 90-degree angles, okay? Whenever I look at the side, that might not be something you need to necessarily tell your students, but that's what I'm doing now. All right, now start to walk your feet up towards your hands. Bring your hands to your shins. Inhale, come as high up as you need to get a flat back. Draw your chest forward. Exhale, fold over your legs. Feel free to bend the knees so you can tip the pelvis. Ground down into the feet. Look out in front of you. Inhale, come up with a flat back. Circle your arms around and up to the side. Palms touch. Exhale, bring your arms out to the sides today. Hands by the sides. So holding here in your mountain pose. All right, so Remember what your mountain pose feet are, because throughout the class, that's how you'll have your feet whenever I say Tadasana feet or mountain feet. So if you can bring your big toes together to touch and your heels to touch. That option doesn't work great for me. It doesn't feel good. It makes my kneecaps turn out. Okay, so maybe then next option, heels would be about an inch apart. Next option, feet could be up to a fist width apart. So just remember what you're going to stick with today, what helps you feel the most grounded. All right, now lift your toes, spread them apart, and grip them down into the mat, and just feel all four corners of the feet. So we're focusing on grounding, so we really want to focus on everything that's touching the earth. Bring your weight back towards the heels a little bit, but then make sure that you push down into the front of the feet as well, into the balls of the feet. Now exhale, ground down. Inhale, lift your arms up over your head, palms touch. Exhale, fold, bend at the hips, tilt the pelvis forward, let the head hang loose. Inhale, come up to your flat back monkey pose. Bend your knees, exhale, step back to plank, top of a push-up. So we'll break this one down. Inhale, push forward so the shoulders come past the wrists, knees come down. Exhale, lower down, chest lands before the belly. Good. Uncurl your toes. Inhale, draw the chest forward and up for cobra pose, shoulders away from the ears, relax the shoulders. Exhale, come down. Curl the toes under. Now push up to the knees in a straight line. Try not to roll up. Good. And then exhale, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Spread your fingers apart, knuckles are pushing down into the mat. Breathe here. Roll the shoulders away from each other, roll the forearms in. So the heels don't need to be actively lifted. The heels will come down towards the ground. They just don't have to touch. Good, breathing here, focusing on everything that's touching the earth, really feeling strong and stable. Now bend your knees and start to walk your feet up towards your hands. Come back to your mountain pose feet. Inhale, come to your monkey pose, lift as high as you need to get a flat back. Exhale, slowly fold over the legs. Push down into the feet, look out. Inhale, come up with a flat back, circle the arms up overhead, palms touch. Exhale, arms down by the sides. Come back to mountain pose. Find your gazing point. Pretend that there's a string attached to the back of the crown of the head. It's reaching you up towards the sky. And breathe here. Come back to your affirmation. Relax your face, relax your jaw. Exhale, ground down. Inhale, reach your arms up overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. You do not have to touch the ground. Inhale, come up to your monkey pose, flat back, bend your knees, plant your hands. Exhale, step back to plank. Now let's practice this push forward. On your inhale, push forward, shoulders past the wrist. Exhale, pull back. Inhale, push forward. Exhale, pull back. Inhale, push forward as you can go. Knees can come down. Exhale, lower down, chest lands before the belly. Uncurl the toes. Inhale, chest forward and up, cobra. Shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, come down, curl the toes under, draw the shoulders away from the mat. Inhale, push up in a straight line to the knees. Exhale, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Feel free to any time to take cleansing breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. When your mind wanders, bring it back to the affirmation. Good, bend your knees, look forward, start to walk to the front of the mat. Come back to your Tadasana feet. Inhale, come halfway up to your flat back. Exhale, fold, ground down, look out. Inhale, rise up, arms up overhead, palms touch. Exhale, arms by the sides. Find your drishti, your gazing point. Bring the weight back, lift the toes, spread them apart, grip them down. Go back to your breath and your affirmation. So usually we only have about an hour to practice. You want to get the most out of the practice that you can, rather than just getting a physical exercise. By focusing on the breath and keeping the mind calm, then you can really start to release anxiety and overwhelm, get grounded, lower blood pressure. Exhale, lower down, or ground down. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway up to your monkey pose, flat back. Bend your knees, plant your hands. Exhale, step back to plank. Inhale, push forward. Exhale, lower. You can lower the knees, chest lands first. Good, yes. Uncurl the toes. Inhale, chest forward and up, cobra. Keep the elbows in. Exhale, lower down, curl the toes under. Inhale, push up in a straight line to plank or modified plank. Exhale, hips up and back. Downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Good, roll the shoulders away from each other, roll the forearms in. And breathe, push into the knuckles, sending the hips up and back, feeling length in both side bodies. Come back to your breath here, back to your affirmation. Let the face relax. And start to walk the feet up to the front of the mat. Inhale, come to your flat back, halfway lift. Exhale, fold over the legs. Push down, look out. Inhale, rise up, arms overhead, palms touch. Exhale, arms by the sides. Find your gazing point, breathe. Draw the lower belly gently in and up. As you inhale, let the low ribs expand, mid ribs, upper ribs. Exhale, upper ribs, mid ribs, low ribs. Now, let's take a wide stance. We're going to face, let's see, we'll face this way. All right, so normally what I would do is I would come right here, okay, so that everybody can see me, but I need to be able to be in the camera, so I'm gonna pretend that this is the front of my class. Sorry, you guys, just pretend. All right, so now we'll take a wide stance, so bring your arms out to your sides in a T and point your fingertips down. Make sure that the outside edges of the feet are right below the fingertips. Good, so probably a little bit wider than you think you need to go. Okay, hands to your hips. So for this one, I would mirror because you're just facing me, so I'm gonna mirror you. So turn the right foot out to face the mirrors. Have the right heel in line with the arch of the back foot and turn the back toes in slightly. Okay, bend into the right knee. Now keep the right knee directly on top of the ankle. So if your knee is going a little bit past your ankle, you need to spread your feet apart further. Everybody's body is going to be different. Some people need to have the feet closer, some a little bit further apart. Okay, it just depends on how long your arms are. But the knee will stay right there. Keep the knee right there and then open the back hip as far as you can go without letting the knee turn in. Okay, so that's why we don't say make your hips parallel to the long side of the mat, because then your knee turns in. So keep the knee right there on top of the ankle and pull the hip back as far as you can go comfortably. Lift the entire rib cage up away from the pelvis. Arms up and then gaze out through the right middle finger. Terry, so if you look at your knee, do you see how your knee is turning in? Mm-hmm. So keep the knee right, keep the foot there, and then turn that knee out a little bit. So you might just be a little bit tight through here. Okay, so then that's okay. Eventually, you'll maybe start to open up a little bit more. Can you bring that foot though more like right there? Perfect. Good, draw the lower belly gently in and up, really expanding. So this is Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. And then bring the hands down to the hips, straighten the right leg, turn the right foot in and the left foot out. Okay, so now bend into the left knee. Make sure the knee doesn't go past the ankle. If it does, take a longer stance. Keep the knee right on top of the ankle and then open the back hip only as far as you can go without the knee turning in. Lift the entire rib cage up away from the pelvis. Arms up, relax the shoulders away from the ears, and gaze out through the left middle finger. Relax the shoulders. Good. Tuck your tailbone just a little. Good. Yeah, and then slowly straighten the leg and let the arms float down and turn the left foot in. So now have the outside edges of the feet parallel to each other. You might feel a little bit pigeon-toed. Hands to the hips. Do a big shoulder roll, inhale, lengthen the spine, and then exhale, start to tilt forward. You can bring your hands to your shins, or if they easily touch the ground, go there. And then inhale up to flat back, monkey pose. Exhale, fold. Tip the pelvis forward, let the head hang loose. So when the feet are apart in these wide leg forward folds, usually it's a little bit easier for people. But you can always bend the knees a little bit here too if you need to find more tilt in your pelvis. You should feel like your pelvis, like your tailbone's pointing up. So breathe here. Let the head hang loose. Let the crown of the head hang down towards the ground so it feels like your spine's lengthening. Put a little bit more weight in the front of the feet and just see how that changes the pose. Okay, walk your hands under the shoulders or bring your hands to your shins again, and then inhale, monkey pose. Flat back. Exhale, hands to the hips. Put a slight bend in your knees, and then inhale, slowly come all the way up. And then exhale, heel toe your feet towards each other and step up to the front of the mat. All right, so now we'll move into warrior one. All right, so having your hands on your hips, bend your knees and lean forward, so stick your booty back. And then put all the weight into your right foot, step back with your left foot about 3.5 to 4 feet. Okay, bring your back heel down. If it doesn't go down, then just take a shorter stance. All right, so now let's have the feet like they're on train tracks, okay? So they'll be more like hip width instead of heel to heel. They'll be more like train tracks, okay? Now your back left toes are pointing towards the front left corner of the mat. So the foot's turned out just a little bit. And weight is right in between both legs. So we're not leaning forward, we're not leaning back. Okay, lengthen your tailbone down. Mandy, turn your toes out a little bit so that yes, the back toe is perfect. Good. Okay, lengthen the tailbone down, front knee is bent. Lift the entire ribcage up away from the pelvis and bring your hands to your heart. Now you can stay here or arms up overhead, wrap the shoulders, and then bring the palms together to touch. You can look straight ahead, or if you want to challenge your balance a little bit more, you can look up. So try to have just as much weight in the back heel as you have in the front. Okay, so try to tuck your tailbone more. Yeah. Because you were kind of like that. So then just try to pull back a little bit. Good. So this is warrior one, Virabhadrasana 1. Find your gazing point, breathe. Even though the arms are up, still relax the shoulders away from the ears. Good. Now bring your hands to your hips and then straighten the front leg. Now we'll pretend that I did a really good job and I told you to grab your blocks before we went into that pose. Okay, so don't do that. You want to make sure, and so write that in your notes. I did not write that in my notes. I wrote down what we needed to have, but I didn't say when to grab them. So before we went into warrior one, that's when you'll want the blocks. So then you'll place those up at the front of the mat. So they'll be on either side of the front foot. We didn't need them for warrior one, but it would have made more sense. Okay, so now we're up here. Front leg is straight. Both legs are straight actually, but the feet are in the same exact placement as they were for warrior one. Just make sure that you don't lock the front knee. That's what tends to happen. So squeeze the front quad so that you don't lock the knee. Hips are pointing forward. Hands to the hips. Inhale, do a big shoulder roll, and then exhale, start to tilt the pelvis forward. Now, bend the front knee. I'm going to let you bend the knee even more and bring your hands to the blocks. So the reason why I had you bend the front knee is because I want the spine to be straight. So if you can notice, my spine is nice and straight. Now sometimes if people straighten the leg, what happens? The back rounds because the hamstrings are tight and it pulls the pelvis back. So knees bent, draw the chest forward just like you're doing your monkey pose here. Now only straighten the front leg as far as you can go, keeping your monkey pose basically. If your back starts to round and your pelvis starts to tuck under, you've gone too far. Good. So hands are just directly under the shoulders so you're not reaching out. So bring your blocks back just a tiny bit, Terry. Yeah. I want to see a little bit more weight in the back heel. Good. So straighten the front leg as far as you can go, keeping your monkey pose. Pulling the right hip back to lengthen the right side. Just showing you all where I would make that adjustment. So as I pull the right hip back, then draw the chest forward and lengthen the spine. Perfect. You don't really need to move. Keep your feet how they are, and then I would just pull here. Draw your chest forward as I hold there. Pull it forward more. Lengthen the spine, not your head, your chest. Yes, perfect, good. So then you'll find more length in your side. Great. Okay, so now bend into the front knee. Bring your hands to your hips and then inhale, slowly come up. And exhale, step forward. Now let me show you guys why I did that adjustment. Okay, because sometimes, let's see, maybe if I'm sideways, it'll be better. Sometimes people will be like this. Okay, so you see how that's all cinched up here? So then whenever I push back here, then that lengthens, especially if I'm holding there and I tell you to draw the chest forward, okay? All right, so now, other side, the blocks are in the right spot, hands to the hips. I like to say hips instead of waist because to me this is the waist, okay? So we don't really want the hands there. Sometimes I say it wrong. Let's say hips. Okay, bend the knees, lean forward, and then bring the left foot back. Or right foot back. That's the trouble sometimes with mirroring. Okay, so now front knee is bent. It's right on top of the ankle. Back left toes point towards the back right toes point towards the front right corner of the mat. Okay, again, feet are like they're on train tracks. So even though the front knee's bent, try to have equal weight in both feet, and you can bring the hands to the heart, or you can bring the arms up overhead or wrap the shoulders, palms touch. Now even though the arms are up, relax the shoulders away from the ears. Good. Anna, tuck your tailbone a little bit, navel to spine. Good. So the torso's right in the middle. Rather than leaning, try to have it right in the middle of both legs. You can look straight ahead or you can look up if you want to challenge your balance a little bit. It's up to you and what you need today, what would make you feel more grounded. Sometimes we need to practice being ungrounded so that we can get grounded. Make sure you're breathing. If your mind's wandering, come back to your affirmation. Okay, now bring your hands to your hips and then inhale, straighten the front leg, but don't lock it. Squeeze the quad. Exhale, tilt the pelvis forward. So we're coming about halfway. Then bend the knee, hands to the blocks. Okay, push your left hip back in space as you draw the chest forward, so finding your monkey pose. Then only straighten the front leg as far as you can go, keeping your monkey pose. Keep your chin tucked slightly, okay, so that your neck is in line with your spine. So to me, it looks more like your heel to heel alignment. So step your right foot over to the right about an inch or two. Yes. Good. Draw your chest forward. Tuck your chin. Good. So you might need to take a shorter stance because your heel maybe felt like it was coming up. Now turn your right toes out a little bit. Okay, so back heel should be down, down, down heavy. So you can always take a shorter stance if you need to. Yeah, good. Okay, so bend into the front knee, hands to the hips, and then inhale, slowly rise up. Find your gazing point, exhale, step forward. Arms by your sides, come back to your mountain pose. Get grounded again. Breathe. Feel that connection into the earth and all four corners of the feet. Close your eyes if that feels good for you. And once you close your eyes, your attention usually goes right to your feet. So just really notice everything that's touching the ground. And then you can open your eyes again. Okay, so now let's move into tree pose. You can set your blocks off to the side. So moving into tree or Vrikshasana. All right, so let's have a strong base in the right foot. Lift the toes, spread them apart and grip them down. Okay, and then usually for beginners, I would have the foot just come to the heel. Now, we'll go over this more later, how I would teach this pose, but I know that all of you can do this variation, so that's what we're going to do. Rather than having the toes on the ground and the heel on the calf, I want the foot to be actually on the calf. Okay, pelvis is pointing forward, so your two little hip bones here pointing straight forward, so don't let the knee come out really, really far and turn the hips. Okay, hips are pointing forward, only have the knee come out as far as you can go with keeping your hip bones pointing forward. Now if you really want to bring the foot up to the inner thigh, that's fine, but you don't have to go there. Lift the entire rib cage up away from the pelvis. Bring your hands to your heart, find your gazing point. Super important in balancing poses that you have your drishti. Stay there, or you can grow your branches, as they say, bring the arms up overhead, however you like. Just roll the shoulders away from each other and broaden the space in between the shoulders on the back. Relax your face, relax your jaw. If you fall out of it, it's okay. Notice the self-talk, be nice to yourself and come back. It's like visualizing, or it's like it's mirroring what would happen in your life, right? Whenever something happens to you that throws you off your center and gets you ungrounded in your life, how do you react to that situation? So we want to react to that situation with kindness and grace. Okay, and slowly release. Whew. Okay, strong base in the left foot. Lift the toes, spread them apart, grip them down. Find your gazing point. Bring the right foot anywhere along the leg, just not on the knee. You don't want to push on the joint. So anywhere along the leg, just not on the knee. Keep the hip bones pointing straight forward and then just let the knee come out only as far as you can go without letting the hips move. Lift the entire rib cage up away from the pelvis. Hands can come to the heart or overhead. Whatever would help you today with your affirmation, with finding grounding. So again, maybe that means challenging your balance a little bit more today so that you can practice coming back to your center, finding your stability. And then slowly come out of it. And walk it out. Okay, come up to the front of your mat, back into your Tadasana, standing mountain pose. Exhale, ground down into all four corners of the feet. Inhale, reach your arms up overhead, palms touch. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come halfway up to your monkey pose. Bend your knees. Exhale, step back to your downward facing dog. Hold here. It's your last downward facing dog. Really find length in the side body. Melissa, walk your feet back about 2 inches. Yeah. Roll the shoulders away from each other. Roll the forearms in. Come down to your hands and knees. Bring your knees as wide as your mat. Uncurl your toes and bring your big toes together to touch. Sink your hips back towards your heels. You can bring your forehead to the ground. You can either leave your arms out if that feels good, or bring the pointer fingers to touch and the thumbs to touch with the elbows bent. Whatever you want to do now that would feel good. Slowly come up to your hands and knees. Swing your feet around and only open your eyes as much as you need to, but come to seated on your blanket in your Sukhasana. Put your non-dominant leg in front. Pull the flesh away from the sitting bones. Lift the rib cage up away from the pelvis. Palms turn down on the knees. Reach the back of the crown of the head towards the sky. Close your eyes and breathe. And lower your head a little bit, blink your eyes open, and lift your head. All right, so now what I'd like you to do is grab your two blocks, extend your legs out into a straddle. Most people know what a straddle is. You could say a V. All right, now I like to sit on the blanket because you want to sit like on the edge of the blanket. Yeah, you might need a stagger. So sitting on the edge of the blanket will start to tip your pelvis forward a little bit more rather than sitting in the middle. If you sit on the front edge, it can start to tip your pelvis, which is what we want. Now, we might need a little bit more props than this, but the first option would be to come here, bring the bolster then on top. It depends on how grumpy your hamstrings are. If your hamstrings are not grumpy at all, then you probably won't need this. But if they are, then you will. So I usually say build a little bridge. So I use this setup a lot in restorative poses. You want it to be out in front of your body enough so that whenever you come into it, you're not like this with the back rounded. So you want it to be out in front of you enough so that you can tilt the pelvis forward and keep straight. So you'll want to bring it out in front of you more, I can tell, Heidi. Okay, so if your hamstrings then aren't as grumpy, then you could be here. I'd like your forehead to be on something, but notice how my spine's nice and tall and nice and long, right? I'm not rounding just to bring my forehead down, okay? So try to have your forehead touching something. You can interlace your fingers and place your forehead onto the fingers. Just close your eyes. You want to be somewhere where you're not feeling like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I feel the stretch. When are we coming out? When are we coming out? So be somewhere where you feel some sensation, but not where it's causing any sort of pain or anger. Let your forehead soften, your eyebrows and your jaw. With each exhale, soften into it a little bit more. So take a nice deep inhale. With your exhale, soften. Deep inhales, nice long exhale, softening into it. And then very slowly start to come up to seated, but keep your eyes closed, keep your legs where they are, just lifting the torso. Notice how you feel just after that pose. And lower your head a little bit and blink your eyes open. And then lay down onto your back, but have your one block handy. Okay, and then I'll show you before you lay back. You'll lay back and then your ankles, your heels will be under your knees. Then you'll lift your hips and then put the block under the sacrum. So you don't want the block in the low back where it's gonna make your booty hang out. Place it under the sacrum where you can have your pelvis neutral. So it'll feel like your pelvis is tucked a little bit. Have your arms by your sides, and your palms facing down. Roll the shoulders under your back. Just make sure you're comfortable here. Feel free to bring the feet a little bit wider and then the knees can lean in towards each other slightly. Then that way you don't feel like you're using so much strength in the legs. You should feel like you can relax a little bit more. And push into you can walk the feet back towards center. Push into your feet, lift your hips, move the block, and then lower your pelvis all the way down, nice and slow. Okay, now bring your arms out to your sides in a T. Shift your hips off center. So bring your hips all the way over to the left side of your mat and then place them down. So now let the knees fall to the right. So their hips are on towards the left side of the mat, their knees are towards the right side of the mat. Try to keep both shoulder blades on the ground. If that's not possible, then lift the legs up a little bit off the mat or off the ground and put a block under the bottom knee. Close your eyes. Notice where you can create some space with your inhale. Maybe it's the top rib. And as you exhale, just really soften into it. When your mind wanders, bring it back to the affirmation. And then bring your knees and hips to center. Shift your hips over to the right. Let the knees fall to the left. Just adjust so that you're comfortable. Both shoulders on the mat. Eyes closed. Notice again where you can create some space with your inhale. Breathe into there. And then with your exhale, completely let go. And then come back to center. And bring both knees in towards your chest. You can hold onto the knees or the shins and just rock a little bit from side to side. Now from here, I'll come around and put the bolster under your legs. It feels really good for Shavasana. If you don't want the bolster under your legs for Shavasana, just extend your legs out now. Otherwise, just keep your legs just like that. You can always adjust the bolster as needed. I'll just put it kind of in the right spot or near the right spot. Yeah, and then once I put your bolster there, you can feel free to extend the legs out. One more. And then just once your legs are out, just let the feet fall out to the sides. Let your arms be a little bit wider than the mat. Hands open, facing the sky. Eyes gently closed. Start moving through the body, letting go of any tension that could be left. Just let it go. Let your face relax and your jaw. Letting the back of the body get heavier and heavier onto the mat. The front of the body get lighter and lighter. Letting the center of the body feel expansive. And let yourself drift off to that place right before you fall asleep. Let the ground carry your body weight and enjoy these last few moments of Shavasana. Deepening your breath. You don't need to move yet, just come back to your breath. Come back to the present moment. And start bringing some movement back into the fingers and the toes. Roll your head gently from side to side. And then if it feels good, reach your arms overhead and your feet in the opposite direction for a full body stretch. And then slowly bend your knees. Place your feet onto the bolster if you have one. Push the bolster away with your feet. And roll onto your right hand side using your right arm for a pillow. And with the strength of your arms, slowly push yourself up to seated. Let your head be the last thing to come up. Coming to Sukhasana, crossing the legs, pull the flesh away from the sitting bones, eyes closed. Palms turned down on the knees, reach the back of the crown of the head up towards the sky. Just notice how you're feeling now at the end of your practice. Compare your breath to how it was when you first sat down on your mat today. How are you feeling different mentally and emotionally? And physically? Come back to your affirmation one last time. On your inhale, I am. Exhale, your affirmation word. Remember to say this many, many times throughout your day. Help you feel grounded, centered, secure, stable, safe. And circle your hands together in front of your heart into prayer, Anjali Mudra. Let's show gratitude for our practice and close our time together with one Om. Take a deep breath in. And then bow down to where it feels good for you. Bring your thumbs from your heart center up to your third eye, acknowledging the energy that's within you, around you, connects us all together, never goes away. That energy within me acknowledges the energy within you, and I thank you so much for letting me guide you through your practice today. Namaste. And then you can open your eyes. So were you feeling different at the end of that, rather than when you sat down?